why they don't let you keep your appendix after they take it out.
Ah.
I know. I would have jars of them all over the place.
How many appendices do you have?
That last of count, like, because I get them put back in, right?
Oh, yeah, okay.
Yeah.
But then they multiply somehow.
But I get different ones put back in.
Oh,
I don't put this.
Okay.
I'm not an idiot. I don't put the same one back in.
Right, of course. Okay, gotcha.
Yeah. How are you today?
I'm doing well. How are you?
I'm well as well. Thank you very much for asking. YEGDND.
Yes.
Okay, I know what it is.
Mm-hmm.
Some people might not know what it is.
Mm-hmm.
It is Dungeons and Dragons.
It is Dungeons and Dragons.
It is improvised.
Yes, everything is made up on the spot.
Cool. How it must be hilarious sometimes to be up there and see how it unfolds, because there is a world that it exists in, but not. Could you just explain to me the mechanism, just so people who might not understand it can get the gist?
Yeah, for sure. Like a lot of different improv shows that have, their sort of formulas and formats and stuff like that. There's a little bit of a format to YEGDND. You have your dungeon master, who sort of helps guide the audience and the players through the story from scene to scene. We have our main heroes, and for the Fringe, we have the same heroes throughout the entire run of the Fringe, all taking part of one big campaign.
Cool.
Then we have a couple other people who can jump in as whatever the scene needs.
Yeah.
And then from there, like, the DM might have a chat with the NPCs, the folks who jump in as any other character, might say, oh, I'm thinking maybe we'll highlight this hero today. They may have an idea for what to do for the first scene, and then from there, it's just whatever happens on stage, we take it from there.
And because the story seems to evolve, and you have done this before,
Yes.
do you ever find that people are coming back to see, because it's not the same show every time, and it is a sort of like a story arc, or it's like watching a serial.
Yes.
Do you find people coming back just to see what's happening and what's going on in the story, that type of thing?
Absolutely.
Very
we do
cool.
try as much as we can to make it so that if you come to one show, you're not missing too much.
Totally.
We're trying to strike that balance a little bit, just so you don't walk out being like, well, clearly there was a whole lot of other story that I should have caught up on.
Yeah.
So we try to have little episodic adventures, but each one does feed into the next one a little bit more and a little bit more. So there really is something great about being able to see it from beginning to end. And we have people who sometimes buy tickets to every single show because they just have to see what happens next.
I want that guy to die, and I want to be there when he dies. That's great.
Exactly.
and what is your venue this year?
Our venue is the Grindstone Theater.
Nice. That's the perfect place for this. Yeah.
We love the Grindstone. We've performed there since they opened in 2018. And we just love what they do, and we're so happy to be fringing with them this year.
That's excellent. You're not recording your show, I assume, because it's improv.
I believe we're streaming the first episode.
Okay, excellent. Okay.
So that should be more of like these are the heroes, these are their everyday sort of shenanigans. So that should be like a fun thing that you will be able to see at home.
So you can see that and still come to the live one as well, and you're going to get a completely different story with the same characters. Very interesting. For you, there's got to be challenges. There's challenges with improv, there's challenges with acting. Is there anything that you have found that you've as a performer learned to do better by doing this, the construct of the Dungeons and Dragons, or is it just like another improv game?
I think it really has changed sort of the way that I see improv and long form improv. I think when I first was performing in D&D in earlier years of it, I think there was sort of this feeling of needing to take it very seriously in a way. It's almost like there's a weird balance between very light, humorous, Whose Line style short form improv games, and then very dramatic sort of spin on it, which is where I tend to lean, because that's sort of a bit of my background is in very dramatic acting, and we do feel like there's a lot that you can get out of those emotional plot beats and those genuine connections with the character. So what I think I've learned to do most from doing this show is finding that balance between when are the moments heartfelt? When do they leave you on the edge of your seat? When are you like, oh, what's going to happen next? This is so scary. And then when do you have the moments where you're goofing around for 5 minutes and you can't stop laughing?
Exactly. And people always think that improv is just funny, but some of the most heartfelt moments I've ever seen have taken place during an improv show at like 3:30 in the morning during the Dynasty, you know.
Oh
But
yes. Oh yes.
but there can be like really moments of sincerity and very touching moments. People forget that that's an element to it too. And I think that that's sort of nice because then when they do get surprised by something that's quite beautiful, they're like, oh, well, that was pleasant. I really enjoyed that.
I feel something.
I feel, what is this?
I think it also makes like the joy and like the fun moments like more worthwhile and like have more substance to them too. Because like when you get into that heartfelt, emotional, genuine moments, you can actually mine a lot of humor from those situations.
Totally.
We all know people who tell jokes to like cope with hard times. Like there's a reason that works.
Yeah, you gotta laugh to stop yourself from crying sometimes.
Exactly.
Or cry to stop yourself from laughing.
Yeah.
Imagine
it's like
that.
a switch. You gotta go on.
Exactly. That's it. How many people are on stage? Roughly?
It will be a cast of 5
Okay.
on each day plus a musician. Cool. So that'll be the 1 DM, 2 heroes, and then 2 NPCs.
That's great. That's very cool. And the musician is just playing piano or guitar or whatever. A lute.
Playing.
Oh, theremin.
To get a lute one day. Oh, that's put that on my YEGDND vision board.
So here you are at the gates of heaven, and a lute. That was your third. That was your third request before you. Well, fine. Here's a freaking lute. Get out of here.
Yeah, playing piano and basically just improvising along with the rest of us, finding the music that best suits the scene.
Yeah. And I think that what people because I have seen your shows before, people should, yes, it is improv, but there's a lot of strong storytelling as well, because that's how a good D&D game goes. You know, you get into it, you get involved, and you have fun with it. Does it ever just go off the rails and like everybody dies and you're like, well, we gotta stop.
Yeah. I don't know if we've ever done a show where everybody dies.
Yeah.
But I feel like we've done plenty of shows where most people die. So there have definitely been some off the rails moments like that.
Oh, that's awesome.
And occasionally we've had to like retcon to it's like, no, that child didn't die in this scene. They were just a little bit hurt and they went home.
They were just a little bit maimed.
Just a little bit.
They walked it off, though. Good for that child.
Yeah.
I'm glad there's a lot of child injuries in your shows. Major child injuries.
Try to keep it PG. Yeah. We really do.
So, is it I would assume that it's, well, I don't think it can be all ages at the Grindstone because they have a bar there. So, you will have mostly an adult crowd.
Mostly, yeah.
Do you have like some people listen to music and get their head straight before a show? Do you have any sort of like pre-show ritual you do? Like, do you yell at yourself in the mirror, or do you, punch the wall or something?
I think my pre-show ritual with that is basically the warm-ups that we sort of do beforehand.
Okay.
We do a lot of different things to just like get our energy up. We do word association games. Some occasional silly, like the classics like Whoosh and those kinds of games. Just have to sort of like get us all in the same headspace, because I think everyone can have their own sort of rituals and their own ways to go about it, but I find with improv, the more you can establish that group mind, like there's not a lot I can do for myself on my own. I feel like what I need to do with my people, you know?
Yeah, and people forget how physical it is.
Yes, it's so in your body. Yeah.
It's not just you're talking the whole time. It's, people are moving, and there's a way more physicality to it. Almost like, where if you were to sing, you would have to warm up singing.
Exactly, and you probably wouldn't want to warm up like in your office chair.
Yeah.
You'd want to like stand and maybe do a couple stretches and stuff like that, and make sure you're physically ready to sing as well. Yeah.
Totally,
It's
totally.
funny that you mentioned like listening to music and playlists because that's a thing that a lot of our players do as well.
Oh, cool.
When they're playing a main character, they'll build a playlist of music on Spotify, either stuff that they feel represents their character,
Yeah.
stuff they feel like their character would listen to. So yeah, anyone coming to YEGDND, listen to that house music because there
It
might
tells a
be
story.
a couple tracks in there that might give you hints of the characters you're about to see.
That's awesome. How would you get someone to come to the show that doesn't play Dungeons and Dragons, doesn't really know much about improv, but was told that they should go and see you? What would you say to them to get them into the doors and into the seats?
Uh, there's definitely like the nerdy element
Hmm.
of D&D. There are a lot of people who are drawn to our show for that reason.
Hmm.
But I would say if you're interested in a big, fantastic story, if the kind of stuff like Marvel movies, Lord of the Rings, Star Wars, if that kind of stuff draws you in, then there are elements of our show that will also draw you in.
Very cool. Yeah, and it seems like it just has a little bit of everything in it, which is always nice to have a surprise, a pleasant surprise when it comes
Mm.
to theater shows. So, yeah,
Oh yeah, that's my favorite thing about improv is the surprise.
exactly, exactly.
Yeah.
Even if they're bad surprises, sometimes, like you
Oh
said, they
yeah.
turn into comedic gold. Yeah.
Oh, getting people into trouble? Yes. Give me some of that. I love it.
Is there anything that I didn't cover that you might want to add, or if there's anything that you want to say that I might not have mentioned? Did I skip over anything?
Yeah, YGD&D is at the Grindstone Theater this Fringe.
Hmm.
To find more of what we do at Sorry Not Sorry Productions, you can follow us at SNSYEG on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram.
And I'll make sure to put all that information in the video below too. And that's
Perfect.
great. This is awesome. Thank you so much
Awesome.
for taking your time to do this.
Yes, thank you so
Um,
much for having me.